one thing is very clear. The Indiana Fever is America's team. And boy, the haters by the time this season is over.
Caitlin Clark isn't just setting records, she's making entire WNBA franchises rethink their home courts. Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Dallas, Las Vegas, Washington, every one of them is scrambling to secure bigger arenas, all because of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Meanwhile, you just know Angel Reese is doom scrolling, frustrated that it's Clark's name lighting up the billboards instead of hers. And somewhere, Aja Wilson is probably drafting another tweet about respect, while Caitlin casually secures 41 nationally televised games. At this point, it's not just a schedule, it's a full-blown coronation.
Clark is going to spend all of next season playing in NBA arenas. We've got rival fans being furious that, you know, Caitlin Clark is that she's getting new arenas, getting moved to new arenas. You've got people saying that they're pushing the Fever. Why are they pushing the Fever?
Take a second and really think about this. When was the last time WNBA teams voluntarily packed up and left their home courts just because of one player? Well, that moment has officially arrived, and the reason is none other than Caitlin Clark. 6 different franchises are moving their games into NBA-sized arenas, ensuring that every single Indiana Fever matchup, home or away, will now be played in venues with at least 15,000 seats. And let's be clear, this isn't just for show, it's because Clark is a one-woman sellout machine. While most WNBA teams are still playing in arenas that barely outshine high school gyms, Clark's impact demands NBA-level stages. Let that sink in.
6 WNBA teams that have moved their games to NBA or NBA size arena.
Let's be real, these aren't just minor venue upgrades. We're talking about full-scale arena shifts just to accommodate the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. The Atlanta Dream is moving to the Hawks State Farm Arena. The Chicago Sky, who spent last season trying to convince everyone that Angel Reese was the league's biggest attraction, are now scheduling 2 games at the United Center because Caitlin is coming to town. Funny enough, outside of those Fever matchups, Reese won't even sniff the United Center. Even the Las Vegas Aces, home of Aja Wilson, are shifting games to the massive T-Mobile Arena, all to keep up with the unstoppable wave that is Caitlin Clark.
Atlanta Dream moved 1 game to the State Farm Arena. Chicago Sky moved 2 games to the United Center, home of the Bulls, home of the Blackhawks. In Atlanta, by the way, that's the home of the Hawks. Connecticut Sun moved 1 game to TD Garden, home of the NBA Celtics. That's going to look really freaking cool on TV.
What's truly ironic is that just last year, these same teams were brushing off Caitlin Clark's arrival like it was no big deal. We don't need her, they claimed. The league is already thriving. But let's be honest, actions speak way louder than a few shady sub-tweets. They're not just welcoming her with open arms now, they're practically rebuilding the entire stage just to make room for the Caitlin Clark era.
Teams have moved 1 game to American Airlines Center, home of the Mavs and the Stars. Las Vegas Aces have moved 1 game to the T-Mobile Arena, home of the NHL's Golden Knights. And the Mystics have 2 games moved to CFG Bank Arena. All right. 6 teams have all moved their home games to ones with larger capacity.
You have to give Connecticut some credit for this one. They don't even have an NBA arena nearby. Yet for Caitlin Clark, they're packing their bags and taking the show to Boston. That's right, they're moving a home game to TD Garden, a whole different city, just to accommodate the demand. You know you're a game changer when teams start outsourcing their own matchups to entirely new zip codes. Now, imagine if Angel Reese tried to pull that off. They'd be lucky if they got bumped up to a bigger high school gym.
Now at the stage where Caitlin Clark is probably going to be responsible, I'm not joking when I say this, for like games where she plays in are probably going to be responsible for like 30% of the attendance in the WNBA.
And it's not just them. The Dallas Wings and Washington Mystics are hopping on the Caitlin Clark wave too, shifting their matchups against Indiana to larger venues with more seats and, of course, more revenue. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a full-scale business model at this point. When Caitlin Clark comes to town, it's no longer just a game. It's a financial jackpot for the home team. Some analysts are even calling her the WNBA's walking stimulus package. And honestly, that's not even an exaggeration. It's straight up reality.
Teams that are going to average 3,000 fans at games but have 17,000 fans. when Caitlin Clark shows up to town with the.
So where are the critics now? The same people who were complaining about the so-called overhype are suddenly silent as their arenas hit max capacity and TV ratings surge, all thanks to the one player they refuse to give credit to. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is probably still steaming that her historic championship run never got this kind of buzz. And as for A'ja Wilson, she's busy firing off vague tweets while her own team scrambles to book a bigger arena just to accommodate the Caitlin Clark phenomenon.
Phoenix Mercury play in the NBA arena. The Seattle Storm do. There are 13 WNBA teams, 7 already playing NBA arenas. The other 6 are moving their games to NBA arenas versus the Fever. You can't acknowledge that she is the needle mover.
Before Caitlin Clark took over, WNBA games barely pulled in 6,000 fans on average. Now, she's packing out 20,000 seat arenas like it's just another day at the office, tripling the usual crowd with ease. Fans aren't showing up for just any team, they're coming specifically for her. Even league executives have admitted they'd rather give up home court advantage than miss out on the Caitlin Clark payday. This isn't just a popular ticket, it's a walking gold mine in a jersey.
A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
Let's break it down. WNBA attendance shot up by 48% last season, and guess who's at the center of that surge? Caitlin Clark. Teams aren't just penciling in her games, they're structuring their entire seasons around her. Take Las Vegas, for example. They didn't just relocate one matchup, they moved multiple games to T-Mobile Arena just to handle the Clark phenomenon. The same aces who act like she's not a game changer are the first ones scrambling for bigger venues whenever she comes to town.
Now we've got some more information on the games and some perspective. Here we are. Indiana Fever put this out, man, just a few minutes ago. All eyes on us. 41 of our 44 games are on national television.
But if you thought teams scrambling for bigger arenas was wild, just wait until you hear about the TV coverage. Caitlin Clark is locked in for 41 nationally televised games this season. Yes, 41. That's more airtime than some entire WNBA franchises have had in the last decade combined. ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV, they're all lining up desperate to get a piece of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon.
Most television games in franchise history, the most national television games in for a single team in WNBA history. How about that?
Last season, the Indiana Fever weren't just making noise, they were shattering viewership records across the league. Now they've gone from an afterthought to primetime royalty, dominating the broadcast schedule. Just a few years ago, they were struggling to stay relevant, but thanks to Caitlin Clark, they're now the main event every night. And you know that stings for players like A'ja Wilson and Angel Reese, who probably thought the spotlight was theirs for the taking. Instead, they're watching Clark take over, breaking records, stealing headlines, and securing top TV slots. Clark didn't just boost attendance, she completely revolutionized the WNBA's broadcast model. Her games effortlessly draw millions of viewers, turning what used to be niche coverage into must-see TV. Now, networks are in a full-blown bidding war, scrambling for every second of Caitlin content, like it's Black Friday and she's the last flat screen on the shelf.
This also just came out. This is the national broadcast schedule right here against the Sky. It's an ABC broadcast network television game. New York Liberty. It's a CBS game.
ABC didn't just want Indiana Fever games. They specifically went after the matchups against Chicago because let's be honest, the Clark versus Reese rivalry is absolute television gold. Meanwhile, CBS locked in the Liberty showdowns and ESPN made sure to grab the high-stakes battles against the Aces. Because let's face it, nothing makes for must-see TV quite like Caitlin Clark going head-to-head with the league's so-called super team and proving why she's the real face of the WNBA.
These are all going to be big rated games. CBS against the Sky. ABC against the Liberty. So you're seeing the teams that move the needles that they're going to play. Well, that should draw some ratings anyway. I'm not going to say these other teams move the needles because they really don't.
While Caitlin Clark continues to command the headlines and take over the WNBA spotlight, frustration is quietly brewing behind the scenes. Games without Clark are getting harder to find in prime time, and veteran stars who have spent years building their legacies are now watching from the shadows as she dominates the national stage again and again. And let's be real, they're not happy about it. Can you blame them? Imagine grinding for years in the league only to see one rookie land 41 nationally televised games while your own team barely makes a dent in the sports media conversation.
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away at points.
The WNBA's original marketing approach didn't do them any favors. Last season, they tried to push a variety of players, basically handing out participation trophies in hopes that spreading the spotlight would keep things fair and egos in check. But fans weren't having it. They tuned in for Caitlin Clark and skipped everything else. The numbers spoke for themselves, and the league had no choice but to pivot. Forget balance. It became about giving the people what they wanted, more Caitlin.
WNBA needs to do everything they can to promote Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying do it at the expense of anyone else, but they went into last season basically trying to promote anyone but Caitlin Clark for I don't know what.
The WNBA now finds itself in a tricky situation. They rely on Caitlin Clark to drive ratings, pack arenas, and keep the league in the national spotlight. But with every primetime game she headlines, the gap between her and the rest of the league only widens. It's a double-edged sword. They need her, but her dominance is making the divide impossible to ignore.
Basically tried to do it to promote anyone but Caitlin Clark. And that made no sense. Because for the long-term growth of the league, you can't just promote one player. But promote Paige, promote Caitlin, promote rival.
Experts are already predicting that at least one of Caitlin Clark's games this season could surpass 4 million viewers, putting her in the same league as top NBA broadcasts. That kind of viewership isn't just impressive, it's unheard of in the WNBA. Marketing teams are salivating at the numbers, but the real takeaway, Clark isn't just ahead of the competition, she's in a completely different league.
Literally what they should be doing. You should be promoting every single player in this league, but not. And again, don't promote Caitlin Clark at the expense of the league, but also promote Caitlin Clark. Promote everyone more. Promote Caitlin Clark constantly. Promote all these players constantly. Promote rivalries constantly. Promote these big games constantly.
And as for so-called rivals, remember when Angel Reese tried to position herself as the face of the league back in her LSU days? Yeah, that narrative has completely crumbled. The media tried to sell the Clark versus Reese rivalry, but reality had other plans. One glance at the national TV schedule tells you everything you need to know. Caitlin Clark isn't sharing the spotlight. She is the spotlight. The idea of a co-star storyline? Gone. Fans and networks have spoken loud and clear. There's only one true headliner in this league.
America's team, yeah, guys, I mean, let's just be honest. This is exactly what they do in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. All right, this is exactly what they're going to do, and they do every year with the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Because they draw rating.
For Angel Reese, this latest shift in the WNBA spotlight has to sting worse than one of her off-target jump shots. She built her entire college career around the idea that she was the next big thing, the face of women's basketball. From viral trash talk to high-profile endorsements, she pushed the narrative that she was the real game changer. And her fans, they were right there with her, insisting that Caitlin Clark's rise was nothing but a media-driven illusion. But now, crickets. The same voices that once hyped up Reese have gone quiet as teams scramble to upgrade venues, rewrite marketing strategies, and shift entire budgets, all to accommodate the Caitlin Clark phenomenon.
Sure, this is because of Angel Reese. That's good. That's really good. Seriously, no, not at all. The Caitlin Clark effect is.
Just picture what Angel Reese must be feeling right now, watching her own team, the Chicago Sky, pack up and move their games to United Center only when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever come to town. They're not doing that for Reese, not for her popularity, her game, or her so-called star power. Nope, this is all about Clark. That's got to sting. The Sky aren't the main event in their own city, just the opening act whenever Clark shows up.
At the point, all the Sky games are on big networks. All the Indiana Fever versus Sky games are on big networks. The Aces game, like I said, is on ESPN. The Liberty games are on big networks. The games against the Liberty. So, and there's a lot of ion on here.
It gets even more awkward when you look at the Chicago Sky's social media. They're still working overtime to sell Angel Reese as the face of the franchise, posting highlight reels, flashy photos, and branded content like she's the main attraction. But when the national networks roll out their promos, it's all Caitlin Clark all the time. That once hyped rivalry between Clark and Reese? It's barely even a storyline anymore. The networks aren't forcing it because they don't have to. They know who actually moves the needle, and it's not the self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie.
Many of these games, guys, one of these games is going to hit 3 million viewers this year. All right, I don't know which one. I assume you can look at the Sky, look at the Aces, those two games, and think those are the games that could, in theory, break 3 million, maybe more than that. The All-Star Game, of course, did a massive rating. What is it going to end up doing this year? So it's all going to be very interesting.
Make no mistake, Angel Reese is still cashing in. She's securing endorsements, growing her brand, and staying relevant. But when it comes to reshaping the financial future of the WNBA, that conversation is over. Caitlin Clark owns that crown now. The numbers don't lie. The metrics speak for themselves. And if there was ever any doubt, just look at the networks.
I'm not even going to say she's the needle mover. She's the needle. She is the needle. And it's just madness. It's madness that there are still people going out of their way talking about, complaining about this. Like, it's an objectively good...
They've made their priorities crystal clear. For Reese and Aja Wilson, this isn't just about pride. It's about legacy, influence, and long-term marketability. In pro sports, the athlete who draws the biggest crowd secures the biggest paycheck. They land premium endorsements, shape league decisions, and etch their name into history. Caitlin Clark isn't just stacking up stats. She's redefining what it means to be a superstar in women's basketball.
The fact that every single team that is not playing in an NBA arena has for Caitlin Clark, it genuinely just shows that the Caitlin Clark boom is not it.
Let's be real, 41 nationally televised games for one team? That's not just unusual, it's unheard of. No WNBA franchise has ever commanded this level of exposure. And let's be clear, this isn't about fairness, it's about demand. The Tiger Woods comparisons? Spot on. Just like Tiger revolutionized golf by bringing in an entirely new audience, Caitlin Clark is doing the same for the WNBA. People who never gave women's basketball a second thought are now circling fever games on their calendars. Clark isn't just a standout player, she's a game changer, a marketing powerhouse, a walking, dribbling ratings machine. And here's the truth for the rest of the league. You can either ride the wave Clark is creating or get left behind, stuck complaining on social media while Indiana sells out arenas and racks up primetime slots. Clark's rise isn't a threat to women's basketball. It's the biggest opportunity the league has ever had, but only the smart ones will know how to cash in. As Aja Wilson laces up her latest signature sneakers and Angel Reese drops another high-fashion photo shoot, they might want to take a quick look at Indiana's schedule, because that team, the one people dismissed last season, yeah, they're coming for everything. Clark isn't just aiming to make an impact, she's rewriting the playbook, and she's doing it with grace, confidence, and a three-point shot that keeps defenders awake at night. The WNBA is evolving, and Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for an invitation. She's already leading the charge. The rest of the league, they can either adapt or step aside. Do you agree? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Check out the next video on screen, and we'll see you there.